There once was a boy from Land Tech.
It was a good turn. Was there a good turnout Saturday?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Sorry, I
Had a full
couldn't make
room.
it. I sent my,
Some people actually came home for it and, paid, actually showed up, but other people stayed in Florida.
Okay.
I mean, let loose the 200 and buy a round trip ticket.
Not
wouldn't you?
today, yeah, we have 1 minute
No, it's
before
good.
the recording begins, so you wanna get it in now.
no, don't pass. Some things are better left unsaid.
Well, if somebody would have told me that all the commissioners showed up at the Clover Club the day of a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'd have said it would have been quite a meeting. That's what happened today.
I thought it was 6 p.m. when Keith emailed me last night. I said, yeah, I'll be there. I don't think it's 6 p.m. I mean, I don't think they're drinking beer at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, like
Right, old juice.
like you've
Orange
never been in the
juice,
Clover
OJ.
Club at 6 at night before.
The AT was there in force.
Not me, that's too early.
Yeah, you got that.
Are we rolling? I will officially call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, March 17th to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Commissioner Kirschner will lead us in prayer.
Okay, please bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for a day in the 60s yesterday. It was great. We ask that you bless us today, give us the wisdom to make the decisions that are the right thing to do for our residents. And thank you. Today is the day that you are either Irish or wish you were. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Here.
We'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept a motion to approve the DVD recording from the previous board session, which was on Tuesday, March 10th, and that index.
So moved.
Seconded.
And a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you. Adjustments to the agenda. I've got two things. I will add the, under new business, just a very brief update on the CCAO legislative session I went to yesterday in Marion. And then under old business, just on some upcoming planning stuff. I know Stacy and I have a meeting today, but regarding the Justice Center. So, either of you have anything you want to add to this?
Just, I wanted to talk about the ODOT meeting. I don't know, that's either old or new business, a combination of both, I guess.
We'll put it under new.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how, again, old or new, but I know you're having a meeting with the NCOR COG today, and I'd like to at least open up for discussion the importance of bringing a project manager into this thing and possibly the COGS. It's something I'd like to
Okay.
talk about a little in depth.
Okay.
And
A couple words on the museum.
Museum. Put that under old.
Yep.
All right. Stacy, you have anything?
Meeting scheduled next week and
Anything else? Nicole? Okay. Starting with the old business, then let's start with the Justice Center one. After, I think there was the meeting, you were gone, and then you guys, I think, the meeting I was gone, we had brief discussions about moving forward with the Justice Center and how that looks and what, groups and get people involved. And I thought with that, Stacy and I would go out and meet with Dr. Lahosky and John DeBoli from the COG to kind of anticipate how that looks and what level their involvement would be, because I guess I just wanted to make sure I grasp what expectations are is from the beginning of this and moving forward versus somebody anticipating one's doing it versus the other. Yeah, and this was, I think, that you guys had talked about. So with that, we have that meeting today, but yeah. we can-
I know that when we started the process looking at the Justice Center almost 2 years ago, it was without the COG. It was the judges, the mayor, at the time, it was Rich Vogt at SIDEC, the Port Authority, and we had numerous meetings. We'd meet out to, there was only one commissioner, so it wasn't an open meeting, but we would meet out to T.J. Willie's in the back room back there, and a lot of good discussion and good conversation. We just couldn't take it to the next level, just couldn't do it. And it was with the involvement of the COG, once they got involved with it, and then they come more structured to the process and so forth. So I'm not sure their level of interest in this, and that's what I think would be helpful for you today if you'd find that out. But I think as we look to going forward with this, that we're gonna need like I don't know if it's a facilitator or a project manager or how that's done. And I do know that part of the $500,000 grant that we received of the Joint Justice Center, that there's money in that, in part of that $500,000 that would compensate the facilitator, the project manager, or whatever. Now, we have.
That's the loan.
Yeah,
Not
that,
right.
yeah, that's
The
right, I'm
loan.
sorry, the loan, that's the 12-year, zero interest loan, yeah. But in that is, got some money in there for the facilitator, project manager, and the reason I would recommend the COG is, again, being with this from the very beginning, their involvement kind of helped bring things together. There is a tremendous amount of things that we've got to do. I mean, there's a design group, architectural group, all this stuff has got to come together. Finance, that, you know, we've all looked at a high level. Now we got to start drilling it down, and I think we're going to need somebody to kind of spearhead this, someone to be in charge. And my recommendation would be the COG. I think that's part of their purpose, and I think if they're interested in taking it on, it's something that we should seriously consider. And as I said, it's not a matter of appropriating funds. That's already would be in the loan that's there.
Well, Commissioner Stacy, we have to bring him up to date. You know, we haven't been sitting on our hands on this. Commissioner Stacy has met with the law firm that would be involved in putting things together for us. We have
Is that the
joint.
prosecutor? Or-
No, the
Bond counsel.
outside counsel. We have actually met with the bonding folks to talk about what the costs are gonna be, and they've worked up a couple of scenarios. So, when Commissioner Stacy talks to Mr. DeVoli or whomever it is from the COG, I'm sure she'll need to bring them up to date on what we've done so far. The only thing that I see different, they had a written kind of a overview of what they thought, but I wanted to make sure that Stacy was part of the committee. From a working standpoint, I guess Stacy or her designee from the office, if she can't be there, because I would want somebody there from the office who is here every day, and can answer questions and be current on what's going on. So it does call for one commissioner, a couple of judges, blah, 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 but they didn't have any staff member as part of it, and I would want that.
Okay, I certainly could support that.
Yeah. So, well, good. You know, I guess I look for it to be a productive meeting today. Just, you know, not gonna take long, but just to talk through those kinds of things. And
Another thing, just to update my fellow commissioners, as we know, as of right now, the city has not committed to come into the project. So it's not a joint justice center. And if the city doesn't come into it, then the $500,000 zero interest loan goes away. In an effort to bring the city in, and I think they are being much more, they're very receptive to it. The issue from the city standpoint is ownership and how we're gonna allocate expenses. Next Wednesday, we have a presentation from Maximus. They're gonna come, it'll be the mayor, the judges, and myself as one commissioner. We'll sit there with a presentation, and the hope is that the city understanding, once they understand how this Maximus systems works, and if we can have the law director and the prosecutor set up what I would call a binding arbitration process. What that would mean is we would agree at this point that if there is ever any dispute between the city and the county, it automatically goes to a arbitrator, and I don't know the whole legal parts of it, but that arbitrator would would then make a ruling, and we're bound to it, to whatever it is, so we would agree in advance. I believe that because, since we're roughly 75% of the project, that it really has to be a county-owned facility. But I do understand the city's concern there, and I think through this maximum, this outside agency that assesses the cost and this binding arbitration, my hope is with those things that we can bring the city into the fold, into this process, and so we establish a long-term working format. And again, it's a joint justice center, and this is where the citizens of not only Tiffin, but of Seneca County reap the long-term benefits here. And so, but as of right now, today, the city's not in with this, so we need to, I think if we go through this, and I'm open for suggestions there, but I think if we go through this process, I have certainly spoken with some of the city council members, and I'm feeling a warm reception to a system somewhat similar to this.
All right, good. Anything else for that? All right, we will, museum, it's the next thing we listed for old business.
Yeah, I talked to the foundation member today, and the museum had requested $6,000 or thereabouts for windows, which they are inclined to give them. Evidently, though, what they want to do is give the money to the county, and then the county give the money to the museum folks. And they had done this in the past. But as part of that, and they want to come in and make that presentation, they can't come in next Tuesday, but maybe Thursday if we have a meeting, or the following Tuesday. Evidently, the county prosecutor had written up an agreement in the past that said that in the event the county decides to liquidate the museum, that they would have first shot at it, and that we would reduce their purchase price by the amount of their donation for improvements. So we need to contact the prosecutor to see whether or not we can get that written up and whether or not we agree to that. Previous commissioners had agreed to that evidently, and I don't know how much the last one was. Stacy, do you recall?
It was somewhere around there. I think they set a time limit on it because we didn't wanna, at 50 years, then recoup, $6,000 when obviously the windows have used
Yeah,
their life, so.
There's some
Yep.
immediate need for new windows, and
Yep.
there's some need for a number of things, but right now, new windows is the big issue. And I know we'll have further discussions about the museum later, but that's,
Okay. Yeah, and we're trying to get the meeting set up hopefully tomorrow with Tanya regarding the adjustments to the current lease agreement we have with them, which is the wording of who's paying for maintenance, which we are, and we have been since the end of the last quarter of last year. But we needed that document to be updated accurately for the last year of that agreement, and the inventory stuff was in there. Like I said, we're just waiting to meet with her, and I'm gonna put the emphasis on it. We'd like to get that signed before the end of the first quarter of this year is past us. We're only 3 quarters to go in on the lease agreement. And then the step two, that we talked about before, about the reorganization and looking at that, bring a couple members from the foundation, from the Historical Society, together to meet with the gentleman from SCORE, who said he'd help us through that process, so that doesn't cost us anything for his expertise in assisting. We can begin. I want that, just an agreement thing out of the way before we take that next step. So hopefully make that happen here pretty quick, and then we'll get that meeting set up and start moving. But in the meantime, because we are doing the maintenance for the facility, I was wondering about maybe sometime going over there with Dean, with our head of maintenance, and taking a look at things and
we do.
seeing if there's some things to get on his radar, because I know there's some events gonna be, obviously it's open all the time, the hours that they have, but they, something going on in June or July, I don't know, if we can look at some things, and maybe there's some not huge time-consuming things aside from the window project that would be,
There are, I think,
with the
just
contractor.
some painting and sprucing up a little bit.
Yeah, some things
I
that
did
could be
meet with the
done.
museum board. I'm gonna meet with the foundation board April 6th or 9th. I'm not sure what that
Okay,
date
good.
is at the library, so hopefully we get them communicating again.
Yeah, good.
There were some long-term issues there. I know that I was involved with it some year ago. The porch, the side porch that is literally, the foundation is just gonna fall in someday if we don't, and that's gonna be a major renovation project. I don't know if the foundation has the funds for that. I really do think it's something, if we wanna maintain the museum over there, that's something we're gonna have to, it's gotta be fixed.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
who's gonna pay it, how it's gonna be done, but I think the discussions, really, we need to start discussing that and how that's gonna happen. And if, Mike, Holly, if you guys are meeting with the foundation and the society, I think we need to start addressing that.
Yeah.
Because it ain't gonna get any better.
Yeah. All right, good. All right, we can move into new business. We've got someone, they're not here yet, that was going to do an introduction to us at 10:15, so we'll just keep moving. Under new business, I listed CCAO, legislative update. They had their, every other year, the budget year, they have a meeting and they bring all the districts or the counties together from Northwest Ohio and invite the legislators, senators, and everybody involved with that. So we heard briefly from them. And then that highlighted a few things. So just to bring up a couple of things, the bill things they highlighted was one, the indigent council, and I know Nikki's working on some letters if we want to sign them in support of this request, which was to get the funding of indigent council back up to at least 50% coming from the state, which is another 25%, because otherwise that used to be by the state, it's all been put on the backs of the counties over the years. They picked up a little bit of it, and this is to get another 25%, so it's 50-50. It's, like they were saying yesterday, it's only $12 million, and some say only, and I said, well, it depends on who's saying the only, and who's got the ask on how the impact of that is, but
Only
anyway.
doesn't fit with the figure 12 million.
So that's out there, and hopefully we'll have some letters soon that we can discuss here about whether we want to sign them in support of that. They said there's been a bill, I don't have the number, but yeah, introduced to eliminate these special elections due to the expenses. I thought that was an interesting aspect, so I don't know where that will or won't get, and I don't know how that's impacted by law when it comes to other things that require those, or if how that would work. There was some discussion, nothing about a bill, but about the concerns that counties expressed to the legislators there, concerned about that unknown figure of operating these boards of elections and the next generation of election equipment that takes us into the future, because we had a little bit of a highlight from the Board of Elections on that, but, they don't know yet, but that could be a huge expense that we're gonna have to deal with. And obviously, all the counties are expressing to the legislators to know that we've got to figure out the best ways to deal with that stuff, and depending on what those costs are, and et cetera. And then it just talks about workforce, the drug issues, those kinds of things. So good discussion, just a couple-hour meeting that we had in Marion, so that's that. You had a meeting with ODOT.
I did. All of us have had meetings with ODOT, and all of us have expressed our concerns about the roads, and so we just kind of took it a little bit different angle. With Stacy Wilson's help, we got some figures together, and I kind of converted those to percentages. But and we're in a little bit different position now, because we have Representative Reineke willing to work with us, and a number of citizens who have expressed their concern about the state roads that come through here. But just as a matter of information, I think for the general population, we should know that District 2 is comprised of a number of counties in Northwest Ohio. Seneca County has 56,745 residents, and that equates to 6.8% of the total population in District 2. We have received consistently, on average, over the last 10 years, 4.3% of the funding. So quick calculation says that, we're short by 2.5%. But if you look at lane miles, there's 3,381 lane miles in District 2, of which 407 are in Seneca County, or 12%. There are 934 bridges in District 2, of which 108 are in Seneca County, and that represents, in round figures, 12%. If you use that calculation, the difference between the 4.3% that we've been receiving and the 12% of the road miles, we're talking about us being short by approximately $3 million a year over the last 10 years, and you know what that equates to. So, again, I know they have different formulas. I know they talk about traffic, and I know they talk about deaths at intersections and all those kind of things. But the fact of the matter is, if you base it on population, and if you base it on road miles, we are woefully short in what is returned to us. The representative from ODOT, made a statement toward the end of the meeting where he realized that Ohio is also a net supplier of funds for federal roads. And I said, yeah, it doesn't feel real good, does it? So that's kind of where we're at. So we know, or we're pretty sure that we can't get much done in 15 or 16, but we certainly want to be there and be a squeaky wheel so that as the budgets are appropriated into the next years, that we at least get a seat at the table and get there early and often and try to be a pain in their side, for lack of a better way of saying it. So we are going to do that. We're going to get a citizens committee together and go talk to Director Ray, who is in charge of the Ohio Department of Transportation. We've got Mr. Reineke's, Representative Reineke's support. So we will be there loud and we'll be there often. We'll see if we get any results.
$3 million shortfall a year.
A year. To be exact, 3.195, $3.2 million. If you calculate the total budget of District 2, it's somewhere about somewhere in the $40 million range, okay? And if you take the 7.7% that we're short, based on the fact that we have 12% of the roads, and based on the fact that we're getting 4.3% of the funding, the difference between those two, if you take that calculation, is $3.195 million annually that we are short based on road miles, lane miles, and based on bridges.
So you're proposing that we have a citizens committee, and we have that Representative Reineke would set up a meeting with Director Ray, and then this citizens committee, which would be a commissioner and other residents, would go up and have an audience with Director Ray and get up there.
Well, not only once, but
Often.
also have, Mr. Audette come down here a few times, our Audette, our representative, and, also try to get some audience with someone in the governor's office as well. So, yeah, we just need to be a little bit louder and a little bit more persistent, I think. Not that people haven't tried in the past. I know that there's been a big push, and I know that people do that, but, I think that we probably need to, I personally think that we need to make this one of our, a major focus into the future.
Good information. Good information. Meeting schedule was listed in the
Yes.
business.
Just a reminder that the 24th is, we're having our strategic planning meeting out to the public safety, so we talked about moving our regular board session out there at 10 o'clock out there next week instead of here. That way we'd be out there in case our, meeting runs, we wouldn't have to cut it off to go out there, so
What time's the strategic planning start?
11,
So we can do our meeting in an hour. And
yeah.
Okay.
So we're just gonna
Sounds good to me.
have that meeting out there
You
at
agree? Have
10.
it out there?
Oh, I have no problem. What is the schedule for the strategic planning? It's gonna start next Tuesday at 11
11.
till when?
Roughly 4:30.
4, and then Wednesday?
We allowed us some time on Wednesday to be there till noon, to be fair to the elected officials in the event that we need that much time. My sense would be that we'll wrap it up Wednesday morning in probably pretty good time, and it's a real possibility that we'll finish up Tuesday afternoon. So, but I wanted to be fair to the elected officials and let them know that it could very well be into Wednesday.
Okay, because Wednesday at noon is when we're having that Maximus meeting then.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we had planned for maybe 8:30 to 11.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so what we're suggesting is the commissioners' meeting would just be held at the same time as what we start our strategic planning and started at 11.
That's right.
We'll start our regular meeting
Our
at 10.
meeting at 10. And the.
Oh, our meeting out there
Yes.
at 10, but we'll do it out there.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
yeah,
with
That
you.
when
Yeah.
we're done, we don't have to rush and move out there. We'll be ready for the meeting by 11, and we'll adjourn by 11.
Yeah. And then the only thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if any of you considered going to that meeting in Columbus that Kathy Oliver had suggested. We do have a meeting on the 31st, so if you wanted to cancel the 26th, we have that following meeting.
We
I
have
don't
that following
necessarily, I don't have anything on the schedule right now for the 26th. So,
I cannot go to Columbus just because I've got a commitment at Tiffin University, and I don't want to take the chance. It's
Okay.
supposed to be done by 2:30, but it'd be just my luck or traffic or something. I don't want to take the chance
Okay.
and not getting there for, I think
What
it
day is
starts in
that,
the
Kathy
afternoon.
Oliver meeting?
it's on the 26th down in Columbus,
Thursday.
at Symposium, Thursday, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. we can wait and cancel the meeting after we get to Tuesday if we think we
I think
don't need it.
I would go ahead and cancel it, and, you know, if you need it, you could always reschedule.
Yeah. Sound good with you?
Yeah.
And like I said, we do have one more meeting in the month to wrap
Yeah,
up
so
things for all
just
the
cancel
departments.
the 26th meeting then.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I did have something.
Yep.
I sent you guys an email from a Chris about his sewer. He's getting billed for one that he doesn't use, and since Mark's here, I sent that to Mark too. I don't know if you guys remember to discuss that.
Did you see that email?
I did.
Okay. Well, we'll catch that.
That's fine.
But we'll, okay, if you're all right with talking about it. I didn't
Sure.
get a chance to read it, okay.
It'll be short because I wasn't prepared, but,
Yeah.
but sure.
That's sewer questions. That was weird. Okay. All right, we're through all the old and new business, and so rather than, we'll go to Robin Richter's here with WSO. As for transportation, she has an introduction she wants to make to us.
Yeah. First of all, I'll give you,
Thank you,
I
Robin.
know most of you guys, but there's my business card, and then actually I want to introduce Todd Robinson. I'll stand over here so my back is. Todd is our newly hired mobility manager, and he is working in 3 counties, Wood, Sandusky, and Ottawa County. Or, what am I saying, Seneca. So this is wrong county today.
That's right. That's right.
And I've got over 20 years of experience in transportation and transportation planning, and then running a rural transit in Sandusky County. But we've done work in transportation planning throughout the state of Ohio. And Todd will be, like I said, just came on board in February. And one of the things we'll do, if you want to have a seat, just real quick, I'll give you, we're going to be updating this old plan from Seneca County. It's a transportation plan. And it has to do with passenger transportation. You might be familiar with like the highway stuff, roads, bridges, that kind of thing. We don't do that kind of planning. We deal with passenger transportation, public and human service. And these are called coordinated public and human service transportation plans. What they drive basically is funding for nonprofits to get vehicles. Now that would be outside of your regular 5311 SCAT provider. This is coordinated vehicles for, like, for example, Seneca County Committee on Aging, if they want to buy a van to transport seniors, or some other nonprofit in your community. So in order for them to be eligible to get funding for those kind of vehicles in your community, a plan like this has to be done within your county. So it's supposed to be done every 5 years, and this one's pretty out of date from 2008. We had the same situation last year in Wood County. We updated theirs. So that's basically what we're coming down to do. And so the process will be about a 6-month process. Todd will be helping manage it, but also Ben Kenny, if you know Ben Kenny from our group, he'll be taking a lead on it. You won't see me much in this particular county because I'm working more in Wood. But Ben will be coming down and he'll lead the group through a process. If you flip open just real quick the first page, table of contents, you can see what's involved in this. The item number 2, they do, well, there's the purpose if you want to look at the purpose again, but they do an inventory of all the existing conditions in the community. And what that means is they're getting an inventory of all the vehicles that are in your community, whether that be, they'll get SCATs because they're a public transportation provider and document that. Then they'll document what DD uses, and they'll document what Seneca County Committee on Aging does. And then they'll also document what other transportation resources are happening. For example, Department of Jobs and Family Services have the non-emergency medical transportation, or NET, Title 19 transportation, and that thing just ballooned last year with the increase in the eligible Medicaid people. So that has changed the spectrum of how public and human service transportation will interact. So that's what the inventory section is. Then they do the public opinion. We'll be doing surveys. We'll be at the Seneca County Fair, and we'll do surveys of the public about what are the needs in your community for transportation. Then we'll do, basically the last part, we get those needs, then we'll come up with strategies and how to make the needs. So pretty much like a lot of other plans that you see, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up. We want to put a steering committee together. It would be a WSOS representative, Todd and Ben, maybe a commissioner or a representative from your office, we'd like to have sit on that steering committee. We're gonna meet with Mary Habig from SCAT later today, get her involved. And so just a core group of like 5 people. And we see that as maybe 4 to 5 meetings over that 6-month period for that kind of involvement. So I kind of wanted to let you know, and then we'll get back in touch with you to see who might want to participate, whether it's a commissioner or a staff person in the process. Any questions?
And this is something as a Community Action Commission, you guys would do for your counties?
Right.
Is that how that, okay.
Yeah. We're doing it because we would do, normally we would do this as a fee-for-service project, and we would charge a community. For example, in the past, when Ben would do it for southern communities that weren't in our core counties, maybe $25,000. But we're doing this at no cost to Seneca County because we have a grant from ODOT that talks about doing regional transportation coordination. So we're doing all 3 counties. And because we have such a background in doing this, we can do it more cost effectively than doing a one standalone county. So that's how we're able to do it and do it cost effectively. And not cost the taxpayers locally any resources to do that, so. All right.
I don't have any questions.
No, thanks
Questions,
for
Robin?
very good.
Right, thank you guys. We'll
Appreciate
keep
you taking the
updated.
time to goes over to do that, but yeah, we can let us know when you need to know if it's one of us or a representative, and okay, we'll go from there.
I'll send y'all an email then. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Tom.
It is 10:30, so we could go right into, we don't have that much business to deal with afterwards, but we'll, so I think if you guys are all right, we'll go right to the information, because Roxanne is here from Regional Planning, and so is Jeff from ODOT. And they're going to talk to us
You haven't stood
today.
up yet, Roxanne gets it first.
Got your free mask. To talk to us about transportation improvement districts.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for the good applause. I did want to mention to you, and I do have some folks here to help us talk through this process, but we put together a team that we are beginning to discuss the possibility of putting a transportation improvement district together for Seneca County and certain districts in Seneca County. And the purpose of the Transportation Improvement District, and Jeff is here to talk more specifics about it, but the purpose of it, of course, is so that we can have access to transportation dollars when we're doing our economic development projects. And so those will supplement some of the economic development projects that we do that will help stretch the dollars that we get for economic development, and then we'll be able to do more with the money and go a little bit further than we do now if we have the assistance of the dollars from ODOT to help us with the roadway improvements that need to occur along with the projects that are being done for the economic development projects. So there's a process that we do have to go through. I do want to introduce the folks that are here to help us, talk through this process. Of course, Mark's here, Zimmerman, to talk about the roadways. He's in charge of all of our roadways here in the county, so he's here, very supportive of our project. I've asked Jeff Lorkey here from the ODOT to talk about the specifics of establishing the district. He would be the person that we would work with in order to get that done, and then we would be working with him on an ongoing basis, and he would walk us through the process, help us to access the dollars that we need in order to, to identify our projects, and then access the dollars we need to complement and supplement some of those projects. And then I've asked David Zach to be here because he's, of course, working on economic development projects for Tiffin. And then I've asked, Renee Smith to be here. Sorry, that lapse. Renee Smith to be here from Fostoria, because she's also the economic development representative there. And she's working on some, I know she's doing some downtown projects now, and certainly can use some assistance with some of the roadway improvements that need to happen with her projects in Fostoria and downtown. So at this point, Jeff, if you will provide some detail. Now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn to go whoop, whoop. Oh, good morning. Let me turn on. Hi, Renee. First off, I want to apologize for not wearing green today. I mean, I got all kinds of grief when I got into the office this morning. I said, well, this is kind of green. That's stone. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was looking, if I had gotten here earlier, I was going to go to the flower shop and get a mum, but oh well.
Fred's got a necklace.
Jeff, just don't wear green and red because they're all making fun of me.
You look marvelous. I want you to know that.
And that's
Who did that? The comedian.
Billy
Looks-
Crystal.
There you go.
Commissioner Kirschner, I don't think I've ever had a chance to meet with you, sir.
Show up at every
Happy
meeting.
today. Commissioner Steve.
Jeff, it's always a pleasure.
Is this
Always.
the same set? Okay.
Our media people, and I know this guy back here. Jim, good to see you. Good to see you. Holly, have you ever had one of these packets? Have you ever had one of these packets?
Renee.
Renee? Holly? Renee, Holly. Holly's up there listening to golf.
Fred, he forgot. Nobody forgets Fred, that's why I say that.
best one of the morning.
Wait, I want to get my picture.
I was gonna say, where's our cell phones?
I wanted a picture of that.
That's on camera. Yep.
Yeah, that is.
We've talked about transportation improvement districts before, especially when we were working with the other three counties along State Route 53 with doing the traffic impact study. I know we had one session where we sat and basically talked about the overall project as to how we might be able to help fund whatever came out of that traffic impact study. And we talked about the possibilities of creating maybe, or getting every county to have a TID and then working together as one to do the improvements on State Route 53. And I think that's the step that we're trying to take now, is to make sure that we get Seneca County in a position where they can actually use some of the monies that are available through the TID to maybe implement some of the identified projects that came out of that traffic impact study. I don't have to tell you, your budgets are getting tighter and tighter, whether they be because of local funding not coming from the state, or because income tax dollars are lower. Whatever, our general funds, no matter where you're at, are all being impacted today. What I think the TID does for you, it does open up the opportunity for yet another pot of money that can help you with your transportation projects that you have, not only for the State Route 53 issues, but as we move forward. It's also a wonderful tool to help bring intergovernmental agencies together from throughout your entire county. This does not supplant or remove the county engineer. This assists the county engineer. This assists your planning organizations, your economic development professionals, your other communities that are located within your county. It gives them an avenue to come together, to work together on transportation projects. And that's one of the bigger overriding aspects that a TID can provide in bringing the county together, which sometimes is not the easiest thing in the world to do. You're not unusual in that respect in Seneca County. That happens no matter what county you're in. The packet of information that I've provided for you, the front page basically is the front page of our website. That talks a little bit more about what the transportation improvement districts are about. And I've highlighted the one sentence that I think is important and imperative to this. TIDs promote intergovernmental and public-private cooperation of transportation resources and investments. That's kind of a summary of what we just discussed here for the last few minutes. If you go to your second page, you get to see how many TIDs are located within the state of Ohio at this point. Right now, this would show you 20 TIDs that are located in Ohio. Actually, at this point in time, we have 22. We have not had a chance to update our map yet. You'll see one anomaly on this page, and that is Rossford, Ohio. Rossford started up their own TID as a municipality back in 1999. However, at this point in time, we would not allow for a municipality to start a TID. They have to go by Ohio Revised Code, has to go through a county, set up through the county commissioner's office. So as you can see throughout this area here that's in District 2, you do have your neighbors to the north, which is Sandusky County, also Henry County, and Lucas County is our most recent TID that joined in within the District 2 area, which just joined it just last year. We do not have any TIDs within District 1, which I also represent down out of the Allen County area. Now, the big question I always get is, well, if these TIDs are so wonderful, why do we only have 22 out of our 88 counties that have become TIDs? The only good answer I can give you is, up until about 3 years ago, the TIDs were under the control of the Ohio Department of Development. This is no slam on the ODOD.
As he looks to that.
But basically what was happening is there was no real incentive for the ODOD to basically set up a TID, because it was like, oh, you're a TID? Well, here's your money. We'll see you later. I mean, it was just pretty well an informal act of divvying up the funds amongst the TIDs that were within the state. As they became under the Ohio Department of Development's, or Ohio Department of Transportation's Division of Jobs and Commerce, which is who I represent, it became more and more evident to us as regional managers as we go out and talk to communities that this is a wonderful tool that we could be using for projects that don't fit the parameters of the track projects, which have to be $12 million or greater, or it doesn't fit with under the guidelines that we have with jobs and commerce monies that we have, like Jobs Ohio money, where these have to be basically industrial jobs. This money can be used for traffic mitigation and safety as it relates to traffic that's being generated by retail and or service projects, or service-related industries. It does not have to be industries themselves, which is, again, the limitations I have with other funds that are available through Jobs and Commerce as well as for Jobs Ohio. So instead of saying, no, we can't help you with that plaza out here, or that subdivision that's creating a lot of issues within your community, we say, let's look at the TID as an opportunity to potentially leverage some funding. We have $3.5 million available on an annual basis through this program. So it is very competitive at this point in time. This past fiscal year, we had over 35 applications that came in requesting a total of about $6.8 million of our TID money to help support almost $1 billion worth of projects that were being proposed. So it is a competitive process, and I want to stress that just because you become a TID, should you become a TID, does not guarantee that you'll get funded every time you put in an application. But I can guarantee you, you will not get funded if you don't set up a TID. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. So some of the information that is also provided on this page is the nuts and bolts as to what or how you need to do to be able to become a registered TID. We've had this discussion with the county engineer. It's not that difficult to do. What we're trying to basically create are TIDs that are not being set up for just one particular project. We want a TID to be an ongoing tool for your county as you look at creating, again, that intergovernmental transportation group that works together. And basically working with your county engineer, you will easily become a registered TID, and that's kind of what some of this language over here is about, and we can discuss that further if you should like. As I mentioned before, this is set up through the Ohio Revised Code. If you look up, excuse me, I got a rotator cuff problem, and it's golf season too. That's, if you look on the front page and look down at the bottom of the TID resources, right there is the Ohio Revised Code 5540, the TID code, and also being able to register as a TID. You can set up to be a TID, but in order to be eligible for any kind of funding from our program, you have to be a registered TID. So it's a two-step process, which is not that difficult to do. I think I sent some legislation, copies of legislation to Roxanne that shows what legislation, what kind of language is required of the county commissioners to develop this TID. And also we can work with you as far as working through your county engineer to set up getting yourself registered. We've talked, it was about a month ago, I think we sat down, what projects could potentially be funded through a TID. And one of them, I think, we've talked long and hard about is the potential bypass, if you will, of State Route 53 down County Road 48 to basically getting yourself over to State Route 18, which will allow truck traffic then to get on 18, then eventually to get onto State Route 224. That is a potential TID project. The TID can fund three different areas of a transportation project. detailed design work, right-of-way acquisition, as well as construction. As the law is written today, we can fund up to 10% of an overall project cost, not to exceed $250,000. That would be for each of those three categories. There is a potential of coming back 3 different times within a lifetime of a project and possibly get funded 3 different times through our TID for a particular project, if you can draw it out that long. But again, you're under competition with other projects. We're trying to change that to make that more of like a 25%, not to exceed $250,000. But as it stands right now, in order to get the full $250,000 for any of those 3 areas, your project would have to cost more than $2.5 million, 10%. I left out any of the real heavy points that we need to talk about, or do you, at this point, I can just go ahead and say, what kind of questions do you have with this whole process?
Can we, maybe if we can hold on the questions, I know Dave had the comments, I don't know, maybe you have something you want to comment? Or Mark?
Yes, I just wanted to express my support and kind of why I think this would be great for the county. First, it's a county tool. The board of the TID is determined by the county. There are a couple different ways to do it, but you get to drive the process and how it's created. So it is a county-wide tool. Secondly, with Roxanne leading the transportation planning and Mark leading the execution of the plan in terms of the priorities, I think it helps facilitate a process where, from an economic development perspective, we can contribute information that then will allow projects to get done that matter. Third, and perhaps most important, this is access to funding that the county would not otherwise get access to. And as we've talked to ODOT, and as you all and others have talked to the legislature, they want to make sure that the county is taking advantage of every grant funding available. And I think it would bring a little more of that state money back home and allow us to get up to $250,000. Now, it's competitive, but if we're not in the game, we're not going to get access to those funds. So from an economic development perspective, what we have been tasked to do is to be an advocate for infrastructure projects that assist economic development. And we support Roxanne and Mark and ODOT in trying to potentially present this to you as an opportunity for the county, put another tool, another arrow in the quiver, another tool in the toolbox to help fund and bring some of that state money to fund projects that benefit the industry and the companies that are here. So what I've seen it work in other communities. As Jeff used to say, it used to be kind of money that was kind of automatic, and now it's competitive. But I would love to see for Seneca County, if there are no issues with it, to be able to add this to the tool and get some access to compete for some additional funding to help the businesses here. So from an economic development perspective, we support the transportation folks trying to bring this to bear. So that would be our my economic development perspective.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So Jeff, the total resources for the TID what's their pool?
$3.5 million on every fiscal year.
And you divide that into the 22 TIDs.
By application.
By application.
Pardon?
Let me better. $3.5 million. Every project is based on its merit and graded on its merit. There is the potential for a single TID to get multiple fundings. So just because you submit a project doesn't mean you're going to get funded. Lorain County got 2 last year, and actually the year before that they received three separate allocations for 3 separate projects. Lucas County just recently got 2 projects funded. Some counties that do submit, they don't get funded because they don't grade out well. And I think I put in there also would be some of the grading that occurs. We do look at economic development. We do look at secured funding. We like this to be basically the last group of that you're looking for funding for, because we want to say, oh, you've got this money already secured and you're still about this much short. Yeah, we can help fill in the blank there. You can use multiple funding sources from ODOT. It can't be, well, I can use this money, but I can't go and then get this money. You can put all 2 of them together. You can combine those together.
Jeff, what's the planning period as far as application and project delivery? I mean,
We're up against-
if we were to do an application For, in 2015, those funds would become available in what year of construction? Is it,
Right now, our applications are due mid to late May, and it coincides with our fiscal year, which ends at the end of June. We look at them through June, and then we award in July, and we really would prefer to see those funds used within a 12-month period of time or within that upcoming fiscal year. We will grant extensions of funding as long as there's a good reason for it. It's not just, well, we kind of forgot. We need to have a good reason to go ahead and do an extension, but we have done that in the past as well. That's been a problem before with some of the older money. It's just sitting there because it sat in county engineer's budget. He was like, well, I'm not sure how we're going to use that yet, but it's within the fiscal years. That's also, you're also graded on that. If you come back a following year and we say, okay, what kind of past performance have you shown us? Have you used monies within the fiscal year that we've allocated to you in the past? If you have, you get a couple more points.
So the funding mechanism, if we are a TID and do this, goes through the county engineer's funds? Or is that
However
up to
you
the
want to
county?
set that up, that can go through the county commissioner's office, but mostly it goes through the county engineer's office. It is a reimbursable grant, similar to what our other grant programs are, so you have to make sure you have monies within a budget, so it's usually pretty safe bet to go through your county engineer, who's already doing all this planning. I mean, hats off to our county engineer, they're already doing this planning. Again, this helps, especially when you have other communities come up within your county that come to him and say, hey, I need this done. Well, and that's one thing that we heard from Mark the other day is, let's prioritize so I can better plan.
right?
That's what this TID really helps to do.
But
The other
there-
th-
I was gonna say, but the established board is the decision maker on whether to apply, application, et cetera. The
Yes.
formation of that, if we do that, okay.
The other thing I think is exciting to Renee and me on economic development projects and in general is that if you get these funds through the TID grant process, they count as local match for projects that Mark is trying to do. So it allows less, money to be used for other things, and helps with the overall, generally trying to get more stuff done in the county.
Well, I just want to make certain that this is not an exercise in futility. We have not been on the top of the list when it comes to funding as a percentage of population, as we talked earlier, as a percentage of road miles, et cetera, in Summit County from ODOT over the years. And, I'd like to know whether or not, counties like Henry and Sandusky, what percentage of the pool of money over the years have they gotten, or has it been an exercise in futility?
Well, I can tell you that, I'm sorry.
So, go ahead.
Henry County has been funded twice now in the last 3 or 4 years, totaling about $450,000. Sandusky County was also funded for their project up on State Route 53 for the Terra Community College. New entrance that'll be actually under construction yet this year. I think that was about $250,000. And they just started, both of those just started within the last couple of years.
Commissioner Kerster, this is somewhat separate from ODOT.
I get that.
Yeah,
I
and
get
this
that,
is
but
just
still,
an additional
the formulas
source.
that are used are similar in a number of things, and I just, like I say, we have been frustratingly low in the amount of money that's come back to this county from ODOT over the years. And I know that it's another tool. I get it, and I certainly would want to be part of it if there's any possibility at all of us getting some additional money. But again, if it's an exercise in futility, and it's just another layer of government that we put in, and we've got very low probability of receiving any money, then why go through the process?
I understand your concern, but honestly, I think you have a great opportunity here to at least get yourself in a position where you can apply and have your project stand on its merit, not necessarily who or where you're from, but what does that project look like, and as it stands up against other projects.
I get it. We're talking about 22 counties of the 88
Yes.
that are now TIDs and rostered. If, the pool of money is $3.5 million, there were $6.8 million in applications last year, if I heard you correctly.
Yes.
As the number of counties increase, I assume you're on a push to have a number of other counties besides us become that. Is that pool gonna remain at 3.5 million, or can we expect that to expand? Or are we gonna divide that 3.5 million by 80 counties?
Since we're right now, starting in a new transportation funding cycle for the next 2 years, I don't see that changing for the next 2 years. But the more we create, the more TIDs we create, it gives us that much more of an ability to go back at the next budget cycle and say, we need more money, because look at how much this program is actually being used.
What, for example, if we have 22 now, you say, and let's say there are 44 this time next year, what do you think the odds are that you'd have $7 million?
I couldn't tell you. I'd hate to even venture a guess. But again, it gives us the opportunity to go back to the legislatures and say,
Okay.
we need more money to fund this project, because it is being used, it is a valuable tool. It's between, again, my jobs and commerce money and track money. I mean, track, you have to have a project that's $12 million or larger. These projects can be a lot smaller and help make an impact, especially for communities. Well, all our communities are having issues with trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make clear that I would certainly want to use any tools that we can use, and I would be in favor of doing this. But my concern is that if we are 44 counties next year at this time, or some number above that, we've seen that for a double figure, and there are now, $13.6 million in requests and $3.5 million in funding, the odds become smaller and smaller that we're going to get any part of that, and we go through the exercise, and that's why that's what concerns me.
I'm going to hold off a little bit, because I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I was kind of responding to your concern about Seneca County, not getting a whole lot of money in the past. And I know that, I'm from our office, I know we're making some efforts and, just spending some time with ODOT to let them know that we are here and that we need some assistance and what is it that we can do. So I've initiated those conversations with ODOT. And then also I know when we set up the team, we added Scott Partika from Senator David Burke's office to our process, because they have an interest in seeing that Seneca County does get an opportunity to get some funding. And I had a conversation with Scott yesterday, actually. He was trying to find out where we were in the process and how we were coming along, and did lend some support and said that if we needed his support, just to give him a call. So I think, if we gather all of our resources, hopefully we can try to change that, what has happened, and maybe look towards the future and
Right,
hopefully.
we talked about earlier, you weren't here, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the fact is that we have 12% of the road miles, the road lane miles in
Right.
District 2, and we get somewhere less than 4.5% of the money. So I mean,
Exactly.
that gap is like there's $3 million a year.
Absolutely.
And as far as the TIDs go, I guess as an overall plan, the way I see it is that, in 95, 96, we started our Regional Planning Commission. And one of the primary responsibilities for the Regional Planning Commission was to develop and administer a transportation plan. That is their design purpose of regional planning, is to administer a transportation plan. Among the other things with subdivision regulations and planning and grants administration, which are all very important for regional planning, the main purpose is to establish a transportation plan. That plan has been visited, but has like most plans, sat on a shelf for almost 20 years now. And in talking with Roxanne, one of the primary things that we would like to do with the Planning Commission is to update and administer a transportation plan that works for Seneca County, not a plan that is so far removed from the realities of what we are going to do and what we want to do, but a real plan for what we can do in Seneca County over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years. Now, as far as bringing money back to Seneca County, I agree. As far as District 2, bringing money back and improving state highways, we have been very low in our percentages. But as far as bringing grant monies back to Seneca County, in the last 7 years alone, my office has brought over $20 million that people don't even know about of transportation improvements to this county through federal grant funding, all of which requires local match. That local match comes out of the M&R funds, our local funds. Now, if we could leverage my funds with, which we score extremely high in our funding, in all of our grants, which is why we are able to get those grants, because we ask for what we know we're gonna get. The score sheets, for instance, that Jeff is talking about, we take those score sheets and we pre-score all of our projects. Every project, before you send a project in, before the TID would send off on a project, you get the past history, where the scores have been over the last 4 to 5 years, what scores have been, and if you know, I have no idea what the score range is, but if 52 is a high score and 52s get funded, you get your score to 52 before you send it down. So you don't just ask for $250,000 or 10% because that's the most we want to get. You ask for what you know you're going to be able to bring back. And yeah, the maximum may be $250,000. And if we have a $2.5 million project and our score says maybe we should ask for $150,000 instead of $250,000 to get our score up. Well, that's $150,000. It doesn't have to come out of my local M&R funds that we can leverage from the TID, from the other state funds that we are pretty sure we're going to get. We can leverage those funds. And since we can leverage those funds and ask for maybe 15 or 15%, so 25%, I'm just throwing numbers out here, then we can look at Ohio Public Works Commission money. And that is a very competitive scoring system as well. So instead of asking for 25% and 25%, you know, I'm getting a grant for 80%. Let's ask for 10%. And then let's ask for 10% from OPWC. And all of a sudden we have a 100% funded project, spending no local money. But we were able to leverage multiple pools of money, multiple resources in order to do that. Now, is there a guarantee that we ask for 10% instead of 25%? Or I'm just saying number, you know, it's a number, not a percentage. And I understand that, but everything we do is by percent. That if we were able to leverage Transportation Improvement District money and Ohio Public Works Commission money, along with 80% federal funding or 90% federal funding, depends on the type of project we're asking for, and spend no local funds, then that 10%, that $150,000, that $100,000, that $20,000 can go towards paving, it can go towards signs, it can go to safety improvements and berm and shoulders and a host of other things that we can spend on our roadway system that aren't necessarily related to the TID, but are certainly related to highway safety in Seneca County. But as we put this plan together, as we work with Roxanne to say, let's update this transportation plan and make it a real plan. Let's work with the access road, and let's work with the bypass idea, and work with some of these things that we can possibly get out of State Route 53 with ODOT. Why not have the tools in place that we can leverage? Which is what it is. This is not a funding mechanism. It's a leverage. We take the 90% federal funds we got and we use as a lever to get 10% more that don't have to come out of my local funds. Anytime we can do that, it's a win for our county, and it brings more money. Does it bring District 2 money to Seneca? No, it does not. But completely separate issue. Is that a fight we need to fight? Absolutely it is. But it's a fight we can fight on a different front while we're working towards administering our transportation plan. Most of what ODOT does and why they spend money, where they spend it, is because counties have a secure plan, a forward-looking plan on what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. We don't have that in Seneca County. We are, and I'm not going to say, I don't want to use the word haphazard. I certainly don't want that word because I just don't know what the proper word is. But we do a project here and we look at doing something over here, we look at doing something over here, but we don't look at how this project may interact with that project. That is what our transportation plan needs to do. You know, Dave had mentioned in one of our meetings, you know, you plan the work and you work the plan. Roxanne and her team of planning can plan the work. I can work the plan. But without all the resources available to me, we may get to the point where, okay, I've got 90% funding, there's another $150,000, $200,000 out there that I could sure use. Don't have it. I don't have it in my budget. I don't have it with the funds that I am willing or able to spend. But we can certainly look at the TID as a resource to say, all right, let's go here. And because they're on the same cycle as the Ohio Public Works Commission, we can have the application process. We've already secured our 80%. These projects are 6 to 8 years out when I apply for money. You know, that's just the reality of what federal money is. But then we look and we say, okay, now that we've got those secured, by the time I get my right-of-way done, I get my environmental work done, we can look to the TID and Ohio Public Works and say, let's, instead of having one big application that might score well to try to get all the funding, let's split that percentage up into these two different places, have fantastic scores, and almost guarantee ourselves of getting the extra money we need to get. That's the advantage I see of having a TID. In the little bit of research I've done on them in probably the last week, week and a half, we have a lever. We have a fantastic track record for administering federal and state funds in this county that people don't even know about. And we can do it with a proper plan, with the proper tools in place. You know, I'm not going to be the one that's going to say, hey, you know, let's build the access here because I want to get development here, I want to get development here. That's what these guys are for. But at some point they're going to say, hey, you know, we need a road improvement over here. That's my job then. And that's how we work together to administer this plan. So I guess that's a very long answer to the question. You know, as far as an exercise in futility, it doesn't have to be. That's a decision we get to make. And it's a decision we get to make and we've got to make over the last 20 years. So, you know, as far as projects go, we'll continue to bring in the projects. We'll continue to bring in the money. But the more resources we have that are available to us to get matching funds, which is what TIDs can provide for us, why not?
Who would administer this? Would this be Roxanne?
Yeah.
Administer the TID, and then the funds, like
Yeah.
all funds, I mean, they don't have to. I'm not saying that I want to administer more funds, but because we already do that.
Yeah.
We already have that mechanism in place. We already administer.
The
Tens of
implementation,
millions of
the
dollars.
application, all of that is handled, and can your department handle that?
Well, at this point, I think it would be me, of course, you know, doing it, which is, but we'll have to talk about capacity and staffing, I think, at another meeting. But yeah, right now, I mean, I would have to do it. And Mark and I could probably come together and work something out. But yes, we're hoping that it would be administered through my office.
As far as how much work is involved, I mean, that's pretty much all based on whatever the TID wants to be. They have to, basically, once they get themselves set up, they need to be able to develop their own code of conduct as to how often they meet. Do they meet it on an as-needed basis? Are they going to meet quarterly? I mean, you probably already have a transportation committee that's already in place with your planning group. Sometimes it's just as easy to piggyback on that meeting. Okay, now we're going to talk about how the TID operates.
Yeah.
Our applications are relatively painless. We request that they only be 15 pages. That includes pictures. I like pictures because I read every one of these applications. Oh, you give me a description, but show me an aerial. What are you talking about?
Right.
So where are you at?
Right.
Oh, I get you now. I see what you're trying to say. So, and the contracts themselves are only 4 pages in length. So we try to make it as simple as we possibly can. So the amount of work is dependent on how much you want to put into it. But it can be on an as-needed basis as well.
In the actual process that takes the legislation of the Board of Commissioners to establish a TID, the under 554001, the Transportation Improvement District definitions. Do you know, Jeff, and I don't know if you would know this, I mean, I would, there's 22 of them, but which of the TIDs that are out there, which way they formed, because there's 2 ways in which they can do that, and I see 2 very distinct differences, here in the fact of numbers, and that's either where, you know, you form with a much larger group representative of various groups, which put sticky notes to calculate it out and comes to about a 13-member board. Then there's the second way, which is a much smaller group. That's one question in terms of going through that process. How long does that take once if we choose to do that, before we know whether it's approved, or is that it's done with us, we establish that board, and then basically the power and control of that board goes to however we set that up, which would probably be regional planning, right? So you're saying, and then operational powers of that group. Those are very gray areas to me, and reading 5540, so are the concerns, because we establish something, we might know that this will be great in our plan, we'll have a transportation plan with or without it, but it'd be great to have in our plan and to help all these things that we've indicated here today that it would do. But it will have some powers, and, you know, what someone does with it in 10 years from now, a decade or two down the road, it may be different than what objectives we set up. So that's my cautionary look at going into this, because that's a power we're gonna create.
Lots of good questions, Commissioner, and where do I start? One of, that has to be something that you decide. The TIDs that I've seen created most recently would be the ones that are under Section 2, which basically says the commissioners appoint 5 people. And those 5 people normally are going to, for sure, I mean, absolutely have to have your engineer. And then usually they appoint somebody from each of the larger communities that are within your county. And then there's I mean, that, usually that's like a 7-member, it holds up, I think, to be about 7. And I always like to have a smaller group than I would a larger group.
Yeah.
Especially in a rural type of a county. So, but that's up to you. As far as the powers of that board, whenever implementation legislation is developed by the commissioners, I think at that point in time would be a good point where your prosecutor gets involved and says, based on what I see here, and after talking to our commissioners, I would like to say, I think we should put in there, this board shall act on, and then list off some of the things that you have a concern with. As far as the types of power, because the TID does have the power to assess. The TID does have the power to set up bonds. So should the implementation legislation address those at that point in time, saying that this board shall not unless approved by? I mean, that's up to you and your prosecutor and your board as well, as to how that goes. But most of the TIDs I'm seeing today are not being set up so they can bond. They're not being set up so they can assess. It's more about working together and trying to leverage whatever funding they can get in order to get something put together. But you're right, 10 years from now, what's that going to look like? And that's where your implementation legislation should be critical as far as the language that's put within there, and that's where your prosecutor would really need to spend some time.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with him, and we've talked about reaching out to find out. I think I communicated with you by email,
Yes.
which I did find in my packet after fact, but, you know, to reach out to some of the counties very similar to size of us and how they're dealing with that, and how they set theirs up and that kind of thing, so. That's the questions I had. I don't know if you guys had any other questions, but.
Yeah, so legislation, I mean, I think, and we all share this concern with creating levels of bureaucracy and establishing powers of control above
Yet another one.
yet another one. So legislation that is created can limit the powers of the board? I mean, I don't know if you can answer that question, or.
I can't answer that question.
I suppose that'd be a question for our prosecutor.
Yeah, if you have that in your implementation legislation, and also if it's also seen in the adopted bylaws by the board, does that trump ORC? I don't think so. But I think it does show the intent of why this board is being set up. And unless, you know, Roxanne goes rogue on us, I don't think we're.
So that I'm clear on this, what you're asking is this board's approval to start the application for a TID?
That's,
Is that?
Well,
Is that where we are now?
I think the process from here, if we decided to go forward and move forward, is that Roxanne and I would work, probably with David, in developing the application and putting what needs to go together to apply to be a TID. There are things that I would need to do as far as, projected future projects. There are thresholds that need to be met. There's legislation that needs to be created. There are bylaws that need to be created. I assume we would just steal Sandusky County's bylaws.
And that's actually the registration process, but
Yeah.
I think you're mixing those both up there. Part of
Perhaps.
that's the registration process, but the establishment would probably be the bylaws, and I'm not sure of that.
well, as
And
the
obviously
revised,
our action on it.
the bylaws are the revised code says legislation and legislation from the county commissioners setting up
Yeah.
the board.
Right.
And then the board shall then set up its own bylaws.
Right.
Now,
And
then
it goes
to
up.
become a registered TID, that's section 203, whatever it is.
So we need
Here's
this
where you have
first
to
then,
prove that you have at least $10 million worth of projects that are occurring within the TID area, that the
Yeah.
TID will be a part of, and the county engineer signs an affidavit saying, yes, we do have that many projects, and oh, by the way, here's what they are. And you've got that already, you've got that in. improvements.
So,
How will
so
this
it's-
affect Fostoria? I
It
mean,
will help.
because Fostoria
It's
is
a
in
county.
multi-counties
Yeah,
there.
you're,
Countywide.
the three county kind of,
But the bulk of Fostoria is in Seneca County.
Okay.
So that's how we're looking at it. And it kind of gives us a chance to get some of our projects out there because we really haven't had that opportunity. So,
And we have, and I don't know how, I mean, I know that state agencies don't always function the same, but from a public works perspective, even though Fostoria is in 3 counties, we have assumed Fostoria in its totality. So as far as the Ohio Public Works Commission goes, Fostoria can apply for any of their 3 counties areas through Seneca County, through us, for funding application, because they are established as part of our district. And if, I don't know, and I think that's something we could check on the TID, is that establishment of the boundaries of a TID are part of the enabling legislation, aren't they?
I'm sorry, I was just
The,
bringing that up.
the boundaries of the TID, of the TID,
Can be established.
can be
yeah.
established
Yeah.
to include all of Fostoria. Which makes all of Fostoria able to be part of our mechanism. So that the same thing, when they go out for Ohio Public Works Commission monies, and they have a transportation project that may be in Wood County, but it's in the city of Fostoria, that they are still eligible under our TID, and we are still able to help them. You know, Fostoria is our, you know, it's our city. It's not Wood County's, it's not Hancock.
I would
County's.
prefer it to be
It's-
that way. The person, as a person that has to work with ODOT, to work with the TIDs, I would prefer to be able to say Fostoria is in this TID as opposed to saying, oh, no, wait a minute, what side of town is that? That would be,
And Wood and Hancock County don't have TIDs at this moment unless they're ones that were left off your map.
no,
They're not.
we're talking with them, but right now, I don't see that happening this year at least.
I don't see why we wouldn't agree to go ahead and go forward with it.
Well,
I don't see the
they're
council-
just-
I guess I would recommend that maybe we sit down in a planning meeting, you know, maybe 4, 5, 6 of us, the commissioners and us, maybe, you know, and I don't know if it's something that can be done, and I don't want to violate it. I'm just saying that we can
Just
have
want
a
to
free
invite the
open.
media, so we can make sure we did, no.
No, I'm just saying, a free open discussion, you know, just
Right.
not, just a discussion
Yeah.
about the ideas. That can be vetted, you know, and we can talk amongst ourselves, you know, to see where we are. You know, creating boards and creating powers is real, and it's long-lasting.
Well, this information that we received and Holly spoke about is complicated. I mean, it gives you 2 different options, and you know, it looks to me, and I think to Holly, like the second alternative is the best because it's smaller and makes more sense. But maybe there's something with it. It's got a lot of legalese in it. We got to be careful. I agree that we should go forward, but we also need to figure out what the best way to go forward is.
On a strict money issue, yeah, bring it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are certain, I mean, and I share those concerns. I mean, I won't be the county engineer forever, you won't be the commissioners forever. You know,
It's another avenue for resources, for money.
But it is.
Funding.
Yes.
yeah.
And so,
Being that we're 15 days to be on top of the open registration period, which is 45 days long, I'm guessing it's not anything in reality that we're gonna try to hit that by this year.
It-
So, but
probably,
I don't
I-
want to stall,
Probably not.
yeah.
But, you know, I would say that if it's not something we're gonna push for this year, which, you know, we need to do things when we're ready to do them, is that at least if it's the idea, then this idea needs to be part of our transportation plan.
Right.
And so that we can actually start moving this plan forward.
Yeah, well, the formation process can still begin
Absolutely, yes.
whenever we're ready
Yeah.
to move
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
and go for
And
it.
as far as the bypass road project, given that it can look at things in different phases, you know, it doesn't mean that theoretically, you would have to delay for a whole nother grant cycle potentially. I mean, that would be something we'd look at.
Yeah.
Because it only cover up to 10% of the total project.
Yeah,
If
so you don't
the
have to,
project is
you don't
around
have to
2.5,
have it for the.
2.25, 2.5.
engineering,
You
it
would
could
only
be
get,
for
you
the
would get
construction,
one
it could
shot
be
for
for the
one of
right of
those
way.
phases.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't necessarily, you know, what I would recommend to the transportation leaders and the commission is take your time, make sure you're comfortable.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it'll, from our economic development project, you know, it can work from a timing standpoint. You don't have to rush,
Right,
so you do it at all.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Finally, Governor Kasich has 6 core values that he rolled out this year. 2 of them are, one's being teamwork, the other one being take responsibility. And I will take responsibility to help your team work together to do what we can to leverage as much state funding as we can for Seneca County. I don't have any control over district allocations, but I think if we show the teamwork that is happening with this potential group, that will also help in light of what you're saying as far as district allocations that Deputy Director Audette has control over. So that's my pledge to you, is I'm here to help work with this group to make this happen and do what's best for Seneca County. So, and if you need me to come back, just let me know.
Well, thank you.
Just let me know.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
appreciate you coming in and a wealth of information and answered a lot of questions. and-
Very complex.
Yeah. Mark, maybe we'll look at calendars and figure out a time
Yep.
to do that. I mean, probably, you know, sooner than later. And we have our standard work session times we can do it, or we can plan a work session.
Right.
I mean, if all 3 of us are going to be there, we have to plan it as a work session, but we can do it.
Yeah, that's however you guys want to do it, so let me, I mean, we can,
I'd be happy to just sit on that, so that we, not all 3 of us are there, and we don't have to have it.
yeah,
Just
and I'm not saying that it can't be an
Yeah.
open meeting, I'm just saying that no decisions are gonna be made, and it's really just a throw ideas out there, so.
In the work session.
Is it important, just one quick question, is it important to have our, and maybe this is to Jeff, to have the prosecutor at those work sessions as well, or not?
I know we're gonna ask him questions, you know, before
I
that,
think
but.
he needs to read this through, make sure he understands and what, you know, red flags come up with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that means he has to be there, or if he can just send his comment saying, hey, what's up with that? You need to make sure he's comfortable with this,
Yeah, right,
or
yeah.
she, I'm not.
He's a key, he's a key.
He's a he?
Setting all this up, I know, yeah, okay.
Who's the most recent addition you've had? What county?
For me, it's Lucas County. For
Okay.
District 2, it'd be Lucas County.
So all of the District 2 ones are highlighted.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff Losey, I don't know if you know Jeff up there. He's a good contact. He's an excellent contact for TIDS. He's
So I'm
helpful.
sure there's some, you know, not reinventing the wheel kind of stuff we could probably do.
Right.
That's what Derek and I talked about, yeah,
Yeah.
was reaching out to some of them, so, okay. Good, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right, maybe we will discuss the sewer thing, that way if Mark does not want to hang to our very last word today. But while we got him here,
Sewers.
You promised short one on this one.
Oh, I would believe this will be short. As far as sewers in New River go, and I wish I had the legislation or the opinion that was given. When we inherited New River, we adopted that sewer district just like we run all of our other sewer districts, where we went from reading meters and doing meter readings for every residence to doing monthly billing. It's actually quarterly billing, but billing, however you want to look at it, billing for 3 months at a time. And establishing those rates so that basically we establish EDUs, we establish some users are very large, the VFWs and the bars and the grocery stores and places that are bigger users pay more based on percentages that are established by Ohio EPA. And so all of those percentages have been established. Residents all pay 1 unit. They all pay the same. And we have been questioned before whether or not a resident can opt out of the sewers. So I don't want to use the sewer. I don't want to use the sewer. I don't want to use any water. And there is actually an opinion, and I will find it, and I will provide it to you. I believe it is from the state of Ohio, which says that if you are in a sewer district, you will pay a sewer rate. You do not have the option not to pay. So everybody that is in New Regal is in the district, which means whether you use the sewer or not, you have the opportunity, and that is what you are actually paying for. They built the sewer, and a majority of what we are paying for New Riggle Sewers is to pay back the bonds, to pay back the loan that we got. And whether or not you use the sewer is not as relevant as the fact that by having that sewer in front of your house gave you the opportunity to use it. The fact that you don't use that opportunity is your choice, but that doesn't mean you can opt out of paying for it. There was one, and I will say this, there was one person that we did let out, and it is a person that was never in the sewer district. They're actually outside the city, outside the village. The home it was in the process of being demolished. There was no plumbing in the house. There was no connection to the sanitary sewer. There was no connection even up to it. They would have had to run a line to it. And we told them, get all the plumbing removed, get the well filled, get all that stuff done first, and we won't start assessing you. Since that time, that residence doesn't even exist as a residence. It's just a barn lot now. So as far as anybody saying, well, you did it for this person. Well, not really. We did not. They're not in the village. They were never connected. The sewer does not go there, and they never have. They don't have an opportunity to use it because it's a farm lot, and that's all it is. So the short answer is that I don't think you even have the ability, by law, to tell somebody that they can opt out if they're in a sewer district. And from reading the law, I don't know if that means that everybody in the sewer district is supposed to be paying a fee. It almost sounds like everybody, whether you're connected or not. But we have used the idea that if the sewer line is in front of you, you're tapped, you're there, then you are part of the sewer system. You are part of the district.
And the
and you
tapping
need
was
to pay.
required.
Absolutely, it was done as part of the contract, right. Yeah, we didn't do it, don't forget, we inherited New Riggle Sewers. But it's the same thing in Bascom. People are paying, whether they're in Honey Creek, in every place, you are paying a fee, even for the ability to use the sewers. That's the way our districts have been established, so.
So, would you rather, he wrote, I don't know if you were copied on the email originally or not. You forwarded it, Nikki forwarded it to you, but the original email didn't go to you.
I would be happy to write the letter to him and copy you on it. I didn't want to do that without talking with you. I don't want to speak for you. So, I will.
One of us can reply to him to indicate that we've had discussions about it in our session, he might give you a paper tomorrow. But that, that a formal written reply will be coming through the county engineer
Will do.
that explains,
Yep.
how this is set up and kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. And just to make sure it's understood that it's through the county sanitary engineer, these are two separate
Titles.
titles. Very distinct, separate responsibilities, so.
Yeah. Okay. And as far as New Riggle in general, we've had discussions, Mark and I have had off and on about, working on that plan.
Yep.
It's called engineering, what's it called?
Oh, the engineering assessment plan?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That when we were down talking to the finance folks of the small communities
Yep.
group about needing and looking at, any answers we could have to do something to alleviate the impact on all of those in the New Riggle
Right.
Sewer District because of what we did inherit, and we'll leave it at that for the purposes of this meeting, just because it's kind
Yeah.
of,
But we are actively
yeah. it's
looking
not-
for solutions.
Yeah,
so.
it's not been put on the shelf,
Nope.
we're still doing that, so that's ongoing. Okay, all right. I think we ought to cover our resolutions, but we do have one gentleman here who you might want to stick around for, Mark, has some things regarding roadways, and he's gonna share that with us during the citizens' comments, so, since we're so close and we don't have much here.
Sure.
So, let's proceed and cover new business that we have, beginning with bill vouchers. And then we have 4 resolutions, that's it, just one.
And bill vouchers 34 through 38. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the sheriff's commissary fund, 028, putting $9,000 into contract services. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the general fund 2015, putting $49,216.50 into the contract services line. This is in our recycled content line to put the money in place for the sheriff's and the juvenile probate courts asphalt projects. Is out of the recycling fund money that we get. I have a resolution authorizing the sale of county-owned property, a 1995 Dodge Caravan, on behalf of the Seneca County Youth Center. And a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with Seneca County Health District for 2015 nursing services on behalf of the Seneca County Youth Center. And that's all I have.
Do I have a motion to accept the,
Make a motion that we approve the resolutions as stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resolutions as stated. Any comments or questions on any of them? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirkland.
Yes.
Commissioner Zelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes. I stand approved. Thank you. All right, that would bring us to an opportunity for citizens' comments. And Kevin Lewis is with us, and he came in early, he's been patiently waiting, and just had an idea he wanted to present to us and thought of some things he's seen happening in other parts of the state regarding some roads and pipelines.
Right. Basically what I'm with Ohio Lesson, and what that is a trust fund for the Ohio Labor Unions and the Ohio Contractors Association. And a lot of the counties have been implementing RUMAs, road usage maintenance agreements. And where it really falls under is for the pipeline industry, where they're coming in, a lot of time they're needing either roads beefed up and or bridges beefed up. And instead of going out to all the individual townships, because it really involves a lot of township roads and some county roads, that most of the townships are going together and going under the county umbrella and with the engineer and stuff. But it's basically, all it's going to do is, if a pipeline company or something like that comes in, they need a bigger bridge or a beefed up road, it's going to be of no cost to you. You're going to have, they're going to pay for that upgrade. The actual industry is the company. And then you'll just have the ability to, if they want a bigger bridge to go across with their pipe and stuff like that, you're gonna have the ability to enforce that. I'm going to come back at a later time and bring you the opinion on Mike DeWine's opinion on it. And then also, several of the counties east of here have all implemented RUMA agreements. I'm probably about as far west as, I'm assuming you don't have one right now. Do you have any kind of RUMA agreement?
Not active. We were engaging in RUMAs with the windmill, or with the wind
Okay.
farms, for similar.
Very similar, yeah.
And we have a large pipeline that's, we have
Yes.
several pipelines, but a large one is coming through that we
Right.
have started the, works with the RUMAs, so.
Right.
We're very familiar with the process
Okay.
and development.
And
of
I'm
RUMAs.
sure they have to go through your prosecutor and be approved and all that stuff, but I think it's something you definitely want to look at. And the way I look at it is it's going to be of no cost to the county. I mean, you know, these oil and gas industries, for the most part, when they want something, it doesn't seem like money's the main issue. They just want to get something done. And you're going to be able to require them to put something in that meets their satisfaction, but also meets your satisfaction. So, and then the, you know, not much about the windmill industry, but it's the same situation. You know, a RUMA, just a road usage maintenance agreement, all you're going to do is require whoever's using that road to fix it up or beef it up to meet the qualifications that you want to set and your engineer wants to set, not just what they want to do. But I'd like to, you know, at a later date, I would drop off the Mike DeWine's decision on it, and maybe a copy of one of the other counties of RUMAs that has been implemented, and maybe you can compare it or look at it and see if that would be something to be of interest to you.
So what does the state do regarding their roads? Did they already do that at the beginning?
They do that through their permitting and through state. We actually, as, I sit on the County Engineers Association board, and we actually implemented legislation statewide for a RUMA that is a general, it is a one-stop shop. It is an approved by the state road use maintenance agreement that has already been negotiated with the pipelines. Can we put specific in it? Yes, we can. But it is a RUMA that is being used all over the state of Ohio. So that instead of us trying to come up with our own rules, regulations, and requirements, this has been set forth, and primarily, like he had said, in southeastern Ohio where oil and gas is booming, this is where they started. The need came that every county was trying to do their own RUMA. Every prosecutor was trying to administer it. Every county engineer was trying to administer it. So we decided as a state, why don't we just do what they're called, I don't want to call it a blanket, but
Umbrella.
an umbrella. That's a good word. An umbrella road use maintenance agreement that can handle every county. And then that enabling legislation, as far as entering into that RUMA between, yourselves and the pipeline or wind farm has already been vetted through the state. You don't have to ask 90% of the questions that, one would normally ask. They've already been asked and approved by the state of Ohio.
Any questions for Kevin or Mark? Okay,
Okay.
well, appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for.
Portsmouth's a long ways away from here.
Yes, it is. Our office is actually out of Westerville,
Okay.
okay? But it's just something that, like he said, if you want to add you want to add any little thing to the RUMA, you can. I mean, what he's saying is true, but east of 71, probably just about every county has their own individual RUMA. And it's just not southeast. Well, I call it more eastern Ohio.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But it is coming this way, and I do know you can have a couple of big pipelines getting ready to come through this area. So I'll drop more information off to you if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll continue with citizens' comments at this time. Is there anyone else who has comments for citizens? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, marathon session.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned, 11:36.
I was gonna have a public comment on your